I go by the name David, and I am here to share a revelation that stayed hidden from me for over 4 decades. On paper, I was the ultimate archetype of the American dream, having pioneered a corporation valued at $200 million. I possessed the mahogany paneled executive suite, a private hangar for my jet, and a sprawling coastal estate. To the outside world, I was a titan of industry, the subject of cover stories in prestigious business journals, and a beacon of inspiration for every hungry young entrepreneur seeking the blueprint for victory. However, behind that glossy facade lay a truth I refused to acknowledge. While I was meticulously laying the bricks of my financial kingdom, I was simultaneously dismantling the only genuine pillars of my life. By the time the fog of work finally cleared, and I grasped the gravity of my mistakes, the damage had become irreparable. Now, at 76, my empire has been liquidated. I sold the firm years ago. The wealth remains in my accounts, but I would surrender every cent of that fortune in a heartbeat if I could travel back in time to rewrite my priorities. Regardless of where you are in your career, if you find yourself sacrificing everything for a better tomorrow, I beg you to listen to my story. I was once exactly where you are, and I was catastrophically mistaken about what truly matters. Let us journey back to 1978. I was a 30-year-old visionary, newly married to my wife, Sarah, and consumed by the fire of launching my own enterprise. Most people viewed my transition into the business world as a reckless gamble, but their doubt only fueled my obsession to prove them wrong. The initial half-decade was a relentless marathon of 80 and 90-hour work weeks. I became a ghost at my own dinner table, an absentee at birthdays, and a stranger during our anniversaries. Sarah remained my silent anchor, reassuring me that we were simply investing in our future. I clung to that sentence like a lifeline, truly believing that once we reached the pinnacle of success, we would finally have the luxury of time. That was the grand illusion I maintained for 20 long years. In 1983, our daughter Emma entered the world. While Sarah was enduring the intensity of labor, I was locked in a boardroom, debating quarterly projections. I eventually made it to the hospital, but the miracle of her birth had already passed without me. I promised myself I would be present for all the milestones that followed, yet those promises were hollow. I missed her first steps, her inaugural day of school, her weekend soccer matches, and even the celebration of her graduation. There is one specific memory that cuts deeper than the rest. Emma was approximately 7 years old when she timidly entered my study, clutching a vibrant drawing of our family she had created at school. She was beaming with pride. Instead of embracing her, I remained tethered to a conference call, simply raising a single finger to signal just a minute. She lingered there for a few silent seconds before quietly retreating. Decades later, I discovered that forgotten artwork in a dusty box. At the bottom, in her childish handwriting, it read, "I love you, Daddy, even though you are always at work." She was only 7. By the time those words reached my heart, the little girl who wrote them was long gone. By 1995, we had officially arrived. The company's valuation hit $50 million. We relocated to a palatial mansion and embarked on our first genuine vacation to Hawaii in over a decade. I looked at the luxury surrounding us and thought, see, the sacrifice was worth it. But I was blind to the shift that had occurred. Sarah had learned to build a fulfilling life that didn't include me. She had her own social circles and philanthropic pursuits. Emma, now 13, treated me with a cold indifference. I had become a tenant in a house I paid for, but a stranger to the people inside it. I dismissed the tension as a passing phase, telling myself that once Emma left for university, Sarah and I would rediscover our spark, the elusive then I was always waiting for. In 2001, we dropped Emma off at Stanford. I was overflowing with pride, but the goodbye was telling. She held her mother in a long, tearful embrace for 5 minutes. When she turned to me, it was a 5-second clinical hug, entirely mechanical and purely out of duty. That very same year, Sarah quietly asked for a divorce. After 23 years of marriage, she had run out of patience for a husband who was never there. She had essentially been a single parent for 2 decades, while I was legally wed to my balance sheets instead of her. I couldn't even find the words to defend myself. She wasn't being cruel. She was simply stating the truth. Following the collapse of my marriage, I didn't seek healing. Instead, I used the silence of my empty home as a catalyst to double down on my professional obsession. The company's valuation soon skyrocketed to the $200 million mark, earning me a prominent feature on the cover of Forbes magazine. To the world, I was a visionary. People clamored to know my secrets to scaling a business, but I never possessed the courage to tell them the devastating truth. I had achieved this pinnacle by bartering away every piece of my soul that actually mattered. In 2009, my body finally issued a bill I couldn't pay. At 61 years old, while hunched over my desk well past midnight, I suffered a massive heart attack. As a crushing weight settled in my chest, I ended up driving myself to the emergency room, fueled by the terrifying realization that I had no one left to call. Sarah had long since rebuilt her life and remarried, and Emma was living her own life in the sprawl of New York City. It wasn't until the following afternoon, when I failed to show up for a high-stakes board meeting, that my personal assistant even realized I was lying in a hospital bed. Stuck in that sterile room, tethered to monitors and intravenous drips, I experienced a moment of chilling lucidity. I looked at the empire I had built and asked myself, what was the point? For whom was I accumulating this mountain of wealth? It wasn't for Sarah, she was gone. It wasn't for Emma, she had learned to thrive in my absence decades ago. Was it merely to feed my own insatiable ego? I had been chasing an imaginary finish line that moved further away every time I got close to it. I eventually liquidated the corporation in 2012, walking away with a staggering payout. Yet, I was immediately confronted with the daunting task of defining what a life was supposed to look like without a title. At 64, I possessed more capital than 10 lifetimes could deplete, but I lacked a single person with whom to share a sunset. I made desperate attempts to rebuild the bridge to Emma, making weekly calls and flying to Manhattan frequently. But I quickly learned a heartbreaking lesson about the nature of time. It is the only asset that offers no refunds. No amount of money can purchase a return ticket to the soccer matches or school plays I missed. Once those windows of opportunity close, they are sealed for eternity. Today, Emma and I maintain a level of polite civility. We meet for the occasional lunch or exchange updates over the phone, but the profound bond shared by other fathers and daughters simply isn't there. There is no shared language of inside jokes or cherished history between us. We are cordial, even pleasant, but we are essentially strangers who happen to share DNA. That emotional distance is a debt I can never fully repay. 3 years ago, she asked me to escort her down the aisle, a request I accepted with immense pride. However, during the wedding reception, the reality of my failure was laid bare before all our guests. When she stood up to give her speech, she spoke exclusively of her mother. She detailed how Sarah had been her constant North Star, how her mother had molded her resilience, and how Sarah had taught her the true meaning of integrity. As for me, she simply thanked me for making the effort to be there. I was acknowledged like a distant relative or an honored guest, not like a father. That night, alone in the silence of my hotel suite, I broke down in tears. For the first time in decades, the weight of what I had forfeited was overwhelming. I had been so consumed with building a monument to my success that I had forgotten to actually witness my daughter's life. I had traded her childhood for a collection of bank statements. Now, I am just an elderly man she tolerates out of a sense of biological obligation, not out of a genuine desire for my presence. It took me 60 years to grasp this fundamental truth. Success is a hollow victory if you are standing alone at the summit. Wealth is meaningless without a witness, and accolades are worthless if the people you love have become acquaintances. I see young men today sprinting down the same path I took, clocking 80-hour weeks and skipping dinners with their children to finalize just one more report. They tell themselves the same lies I did. Just a few more years until I make partner. Or, once I hit this specific number, I'll prioritize my family. But the finish line is a ghost. It never stays put. There is always a more lucrative deal, a higher position, or a more urgent crisis. Meanwhile, your children are growing up in the blink of an eye, and your marriage is eroding in the shadows. One morning, you will wake up with a vault full of cash and a heart overflowing with regret. If I could speak to my 30-year-old self, I would tell him, your company will not collapse if you head home at 5 o'clock. That meeting can wait until Monday morning. That email can stay unread until tomorrow. But your daughter's childhood is a limited time offer. Her soccer game is happening today. Her school play is tonight. And once those moments vanish, they are gone forever. The work will always be there, but those years will not. The reality you must face is that childhood is a fleeting season. Your spouse will not wait indefinitely in the shadows of your ambition, and your parents will not be around to witness your eventual arrival. Every person you hold dear is living on a silent countdown. And the most terrifying part is that we are never told how much time is left on the clock. I possess a fortune that could comfortably sustain 10 families for their entire lives. I have a portfolio of prime real estate and investment accounts that are the envy of the financial world. Yet, I would liquidate every asset, every single cent, just to buy back one rainy afternoon with Emma when she was 7 years old. I would trade it all for one quiet evening with Sarah before I pushed her away with my cold indifference. I would give everything for the chance to simply show up and be present, rather than being physically there, but mentally 1,000 miles away. There is a bitter irony in the legacy I left behind. Within the walls of the company I built, I am already a forgotten ghost. After I sold the business and new management took the reins, it took less than 2 years for my influence to be completely erased. The massive deals I stayed up all night to close, nobody remembers them. The professional achievements I thought were so vital, they are merely footnotes in archived business journals that collect dust on a shelf. In the world of commerce, I am replaceable, but in the world of my family, the memory of my absence is permanent. Emma hasn't forgotten the empty chairs at her performances. She remembers every milestone I missed, every broken promise I made, and every single time I prioritized a board meeting over her heart. Those memories are etched in stone. They shaped her identity and defined the distance between us. I cannot write a check to undo the damage I caused during those formative years. At 76, I reside alone in a quiet beachfront condo. I have more hours in the day than I know how to fill. I spend my time reading, traveling to distant lands, and volunteering my time, but most of my mental energy is spent mourning what could have been. I lost 40 years before I finally understood that success isn't measured by the square footage of your home or the zeros in your bank balance. True victory is found in the depth of your relationships, in the quality of your presence, and in the strength of your love. If you are watching this right now and you find yourself hunched over your laptop late into the night, I am talking to you. Close the screen, shut down the office lights, and go home. Sit at the table with your family. Engage with your children. Listen to your spouse. Be entirely there. I can promise you with absolute certainty that 2 decades from now, you won't remember the details of tonight's report, but you will remember whether you were there for the moments that actually mattered. You might be telling yourself, my path is different. I'm building something revolutionary. My family understands. I thought the exact same thing. Every man who falls into this trap believes he is the exception to the rule. But none of us are. We all deceive ourselves into thinking we have more time than we actually do. We assume our families will be there waiting when we finally make it. We think we can compensate for our absence later. You cannot. I learned this truth 4 decades too late. I am begging you to learn it today. Go home. Choose the people who love you over the people who sign your checks. At the end of your journey, your career accomplishments will be forgotten by the world, but your presence or lack thereof will be the only thing your family remembers. Don't end up like me, wealthy, famous, and profoundly alone. If this story makes you feel uneasy, then it has done its job. If it sparks a desire for change, don't ignore it. Do not wait until tomorrow or next quarter to adjust your priorities. Act now. Time is an indifferent force. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan or your quarterly goals. It just keeps moving, and one day it will run out. Please leave a comment and share what you intend to do differently starting tonight. Subscribe if you want to hear more hard-earned wisdom from a man who had to lose everything to see what mattered. Share this with someone who is currently losing themselves in the grind. And then, most importantly, turn off your device and go be with the people who matter most. Because I can tell you from experience, they are the only thing that ever truly will.